Live from Washington, the Robert Christian Show. Visit us on the web, ladies and gentlemen, robertchristianshow.com. It is lovely to have you all joining us on today's live show. One news item that we did not get into, but we're probably going to save it, right, for a good reason, because I want to know more about this. The governor of the state of Oklahoma. Okay, well, this is what she did. Well, first, the lawmakers in Oklahoma, this is what they did. They attempted to ban abortion. Now, if you like abortion or if you don't like it, if you agree with it or not, to this, I thank you. But to this, it's sort of irrelevant. And you'll understand this. Because lawmakers in Oklahoma, they approved a bill that would make performing abortions a felony and revoke the medical license of most physicians who assist with such procedures. But Governor Mary Fallin, Republican, says that she'll have 5 days, including Sunday, to decide to sign the bill or not, or to veto it. And so far to date, she has said that she plans on vetoing that bill. Now, the question is, do you agree with that or not? You decide. I'm Robert Christian. First, ladies and gentlemen, we have our featured guest joining us. Hello. And it is a great honor to have you on joining us today.
Thank you, Robert. It's a great honor to be here. I guess I need to adjust something.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I need to put your graphic up. So, Al, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm a writer, not working full-time at it because I recently lost my job. I have time to write full-time. I'm a Navy vet. That's where I got some of the insights into the stories that I'm now writing.
Yes.
I was stationed in Hawaii. Then when it came time for me to get out of the military, I looked around and said, yeah, I think I'll just stay here. And took the GI Bill, went to school.
Well, I understand you do a lot of writing, and you actually started doing it and found that you were quite good at it or quite interested in writing. What promoted you to start writing?
I started when I was in the Navy. Just there's a lot of free time, so I started keeping journals, writing letters. Unfortunately, I don't have any of these journals now. I'd like to have some of that material. And as I said, I got out of the Navy. I went into school. I went to community college. I was acing all my classes, and that was a little bit of a shock to me because I barely graduated high school.
Yes.
So I looked at, this is fun. I can do it. And I was getting very high marks on my writing. So I said, okay, this is the direction I think I'll go.
Well, you know what? I think that in writing, it is so creative, Al, because when you put yourself in front of a computer, word processor, or a pad and pencil, mm-hmm. and you start writing, part of yourself just instantaneously spills out into what you're writing. So what is your favorite thing that you write about?
Well, right now I'm writing mysteries. I started writing mysteries with a friend of mine and just thought of it. We thought it would be fun, so we started it, and I found I really love them. It's just, okay, what kind of trouble can I get the guy into? How can he figure out this? It's like, okay, we need a clue here. What's something that will baffle him? Just the whole puzzle piece nature of writing mysteries. That's what I'm into now. But any kind of writing, just getting into the head of a character, it's like, okay, I have this girl, or I have this woman, or I have this old man. What are they thinking? What are they doing? How are they thinking about it? And almost becoming that person.
I think it's so interesting, Al, because you bring up a valid point, but a lot of writings, a lot of books don't do that. Where it's different characters, and each one of them has a different part or a different attitude or a different view on things. But when you're successful, being able to figure this out and say, okay, this is a good guy, this is a bad guy, the mystery revolves. I think it does good.
Well, it's just first, it's just so much fun, so that's one thing that keeps it going. And even though I write mostly in the first person, I still have to develop the characterization of the people that my character is talking to. So they need to be consistent. If he's irascible, he's almost always irascible. It's like, make sure you don't, suddenly he's all sweetness and light just out of the blue. No, this character has to consistently be this way or that, or mostly consistent. I guess people are completely consistent.
Now, in your book or books, is there like a paramount theme within all of them, or a central message, or is the mystery just or the book more or less laid out just to say, oh, here's a mystery, now you decide, you make up your mind?
Well, that's probably the first level. It's just the mystery and solving it, and can you solve it? But, in the first two books, each book takes place during a week, so there's not a lot of chance for character development of the main character. I mean, how much do you change in a week, unless it's a really crisis-laden week?
Right.
So then we wrote the next book, which was took place 6 months later, so we showed a little bit more development. So we're having fun showing this guy become something a little more than just a guy that was in the Navy and now wants to get out and wants to get back home. We put stressors on him. It's like, oh, okay, now I got to change this. I got to do this different.
Well, now
so that's probably the theme in those books.
Now, are the mystery, though, in some of these books, are they based around your life, or are they completely fictitious?
The mysteries themselves are completely fictitious. They're set in history. I mean, the first two novels are set in 1949 because, I majored in history. My writing buddy majored. That's where we met each other at the history department at University of Hawaii. So we decided on a historical theme. So the first book takes place, the background is a historic dock strike. So we've got the Red Scare and McCarthyism, coming up. So we wanted to deal with those kinds of issues. More of, okay, what is society going through at that time in the background of this mystery story?
What, in your opinion, do you think is the best mystery story that has ever been told?
The best one ever told? Wow. I probably have to go with something really standard, tried and true, like the Maltese Falcon.
I mean, people they look at the Area 51 conspiracy.
Oh, okay.
We immediately think of conspiracy theory because of Area 51. Okay, well, we look at this and say, ooh, a lot of conspiracy. But is it really conspiracy, or is that mystery? Or is the actual running and the office of the President of the United States, is that more of a figurehead, or is that conspiracy, or is that a mystery?
Well, the interesting thing about the word conspiracy, I mean, what are we talking about? I mean, I deal with that in the mysteries. You have two criminals colluding to frame someone. That's a conspiracy, right? So when I look at the government, I'm thinking, well, government is conspiracy by nature.
Yes.
So, I mean, the idea of government conspiracy seems almost redundant.
Yeah, you're right. But, I mean, Al, who else would be better to ask that question to besides you? Because as a writer, as a former Navy man. And now, I'm not saying are you a conspiracy theorist, but I look at conspiracies and I say, okay, well, maybe that is really not a conspiracy theory. Maybe what it is a mystery. Mysteries are things that are very, very seldom ever understood.
I think it is more of a mystery. I mean, take 9/11.
Oh, you're good.
For example,
you're good.
You have on one side you have the official report.
Yes.
And then you have the other side. Like anyone who denies the official report is a tinfoil hat nutcase.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of area in between there. I mean, does it have to be the whole government is involved for it to be a conspiracy, or can it be one guy or one little cadre of guys? The sinking of the Maine. I mean, we now know that everything that launched the Spanish-American War was a conspiracy. The Spanish did not sink that ship. Someone else did. Do we know who? No, we don't. But somebody did.
Yes.
So,
well,
was the entire government involved? Who knows? Most likely not. I mean, the government is a very big machine.
Well, let me ask you, Al. This is a very ingenious question, and thanks, writer, for asking this question. But Al, do you think that okay? Where is the intersection? I'm trying to word it exactly right. Mm-hmm. Where is the intersection between a mystery, right, or a gee whiz, what is that word? What's the intersection between a mystery? Yes. Okay. They're still writing. Okay, what the I guess what they're trying to say, right, writer, the intersection between a mystery, something that is completely unknown, or an idea that oftentimes will result in these conspiracy theories. Is your writing and your book sort of at the inner? I'm doing this. Do you think that it's at the beginning or at the intersection between the two of them? Is that right?
A mystery would be something that's simply unknown, and usually a mystery involves uncovering some conspiracy.
Yes.
So, for example, in our first book, we have a rogue FBI agent who's trying to frame prominent union members. Okay, well, there's a conspiracy, but from the point of view of the detective, it's a mystery because he hasn't figured that part out yet. He's like, okay, I've got this illicit cash. I think I know where it came from. I've got this FBI agent talking in my ear. I'm not buying everything he's saying. And I have to sort all this out because I've got a murder to solve, and somehow these are all connected. So there's always going to be this intersection because the conspiracy is somebody contrived to do something. The mystery is how do we figure it out?
Well, do you think that a conspiracy is based on fact, and a mystery is loosely based on fact, because it's sort of like having the half of the puzzle.
Well, I think even in conspiracy, the only people that have the full puzzle are the participants in the conspiracy.
Correct.
So, for example, let's say Lee Harvey Oswald did not act alone. The only people that are aware of what really happened are however many people were involved in that conspiracy. How do you sort it out? I mean, you and I could collude to do something.
Go ahead.
And then okay, we're conspirators.
Yes.
So the word gets thrown around so much, and it means, I don't think it happened that way. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, not necessarily.
Yes. Well, I'm with you. When you mentioned earlier, just a few minutes ago, the issue with 9/11. Now, granted, that was absolutely a horrifying day in American history. But since then, as you know, there has been a lot of conspiracies. Okay, let me look at the conspiracies.
Right.
A lot of conspiracies when it comes to who did it, why they did it, how it happened. Did a plane do this? You know, how did it do, and all this. Okay, part of this is conspiracy. Part of it, a small fraction, however, is factual.
Right.
And the other part of it is where you specialize with your writing and with your journalistic style. So where do you how is the line drawn between point A and point B? Because it's not it's a very fine line, but how do you draw that line?
Well, I think if I wrote in third person, where I'm multiple characters, I would probably be doing it differently. But with a detective and doing the Raymond Chandler style of writing, it's how soon does our detective figure it out? Oh, well, the one scene from the book, they're watching a Union rally on May Day, the detective and the FBI agent. And the FBI agent is telling our detective, look, the workers here have never struck, they've never done anything like this. It's because of outside communist agitation. And my detective's just not buying it. So he goes back to the bar where he met the FBI agent in the first place. He's talking to his friend, the bartender. Says, so what did G-Man have to say? He says, the strike is a commie plot.
Yes.
His friend says, everything's a commie plot. Haven't you heard? I mean, because that was 1949. Everything was a communist plot.
Yes.
You know, and now it's I think I take them with a grain of salt. So that's what my detective does. Like, okay, until I see some facts, I'm gonna go with what I can solve, because he's got his immediate concern. And then the conspiracy, and there is a conspiracy in the novel, is more or less in the background.
Well, you know, I think, Al, that with every really good conspiracy book, or a book on theory, or a book as what you write, okay, I look at these and I say, you know what, a good writer is going to leave people at the end of every chapter on the edge of their seat, in a figurative way of speaking, because not everything is going to be revealed, and perhaps at the end of the book, still not everything is revealed. Now,
yes.
So do you agree with that?
Pretty much. I don't want to. I try not to do it too formulaic. I mean, where there's like, oh my God, I got to read the next chapter. And it's just this kind of cliffhanger, because, when you read writers who do that, extremely purposely, I guess you would say, you can tell that that's what they're doing. It's like, okay, no, the guy needs a break. Or, the reader needs a break. So we can pick it up here, halfway through the next chapter. Of course, you want to get them turning the next chapter, so maybe the first 3 or 4 chapters, you make sure that moves forward. But I think we need a breather every once in a while from that.
Well, I think it's interesting, and what to me it is so appealing, Al, is people like you that are book writers, book authors, and they're able to put a theory behind each character, or put a and it's like you feel that person. Like, okay, here comes the third or fourth character in this book, a completely different perspective, completely different personality. So, for you, what makes these characters stand out?
Well, I mean, we have to find a way to make them stand out. So, we were trying to reflect the pulp era a little bit, but if you read many of the books from the pulp era, the women are basically cardboard cutouts. So that's one thing we didn't want to do. How can we make all the female characters fully realized characters? So or any of the characters, the bad guys. We have to find a way, sometimes in just a few words. Okay, how do we make this person stand out as being different from the voice that from the story or the description we're getting from the detective? Because our detective may be an unreliable narrator. So we have to also show some action where.
Well, true, but I look when I'm reading a book. I look at the different characters. Some characters are more prominent than others, depending on, of course, on the storyline, and depending on a lot of it, depending on how much time is actually spent on each character. But do you find that in your writing and in your styles of writing that your baseline is based on a factual truth or based on a factual event that has happened, or would you say that it might be a hodgepodge based on something that hasn't quite yet happened, but something that just might be a little fun for the imagination?
Well, so far I'm writing stories that are history-based, but characters that aren't directly involved in history. So there's this historical, condition or situation in the background. In this case, the Cold War. What I'm hoping to do is we're now seeing a lot of the same, what should I call it, the same climate of fear, of pointing fingers. Oh, who's the terrorist? I expect another McCarthy hearing anytime soon. Wondering who's tied to Al-Qaeda or whoever. And we want to look at those issues. We want to bring that back. Like, this happened before. Let's look at this. It's happened. That's in an entertaining way, rather than. So yeah, this happened before. Okay, yes, we know that.
Well, here's a good thought. You may have heard in the news this last week that hundreds of pages of files dealing with 9/11 are now being made public.
Right.
The Republican Congress has tried to block it from happening, but so far, as to what I understand, they have been unsuccessful with the Freedom of Information Act. But would you be so keen to review what those documents are, and maybe, I can't say begin from scratch, but maybe look at some of these things and figure out, A, is it a conspiracy, or B, is this the mystery of the unknown finally revealed?
I think even if we look at those documents, we still have to come to the conclusion, yes, it's a conspiracy. The question is, who is involved in the conspiracy? Is it just those 19 guys and their handlers from Al-Qaeda, or did they have inside help? I mean, I'm not sure the intersection ever separates. I mean, there's always going to be unknown questions. I mean, will we ever definitively know exactly what happened? I'm not sure we will. So there will always be a mystery there. And there will always be people claiming that, no, it's exactly as the report says. So
yeah, well, I mean, again, this is where the mystery of it comes in with the conspiracy of it. As you know, a mystery typically has one central theme or motive, but in a conspiracy, that is sort of like that. That's a splatter, is what that is. Because a lot of people have different theories and different ideas, and some might match up with others, but it doesn't mean that is an element of truth. But within a mystery, when a mystery is solved, it is solved with truth, and it is solved with a central theme. It always is.
Right.
So
Go
ahead.
Well, usually the central theme is a murder,
Yes.
And every book I've read about how to write mysteries suggests writing murders because that invests your reader. You want the perpetrator brought to justice because there's almost always no justification. So that keeps the reader invested. These other kind of conspiracies, other mysteries, I mean, I'm not even, now that you mention it, I'm not sure how you could easily separate the two.
Yeah, that's what I said. How can you go from point A to point B?
I mean, in a murder, it's okay. You have evidence. You follow the evidence. Hopefully, the evidence leads you to the criminal. Okay, so we have an event like the assassination of JFK, or the sinking of the Maine, or 9/11. Some men, or people, were involved in that occurrence. Is there evidence that points to who was involved? Mm-hmm. And the conspiracy part comes, I guess, when there's people who want to cover that up. So I guess maybe that's where it's like, okay, we don't want people to know what really happened here, so we're going to obfuscate, we're going to deflect, we're going to tell a different story. There's a news clip of the Pentagon right after it was attacked, and that clip has now disappeared. Like, okay, that looks very suspicious.
Yes.
Does that? Okay, now that I've said that looks suspicious, does that put me over in the tinfoil hat cadre? I say, no, I don't think so.
No, well, exactly. Well, a conspiracy theory, when it comes to the Pentagon, and a conspiracy theory, they'd be like, okay, well, here's 10,000 conspiracies, right? But there is one central fact.
Right.
But with a mystery, you know what the fact is, you see. But how you get to the fact, that is the mystery.
Well, we know what the fact is in the case of the Pentagon. Something hit that building.
Yes.
Okay, now, are we going to argue about, the first thing we have to argue about, was it a plane or was it something else? Okay, right. So one side is saying X and the other side is saying Y. Okay, that's the first thing to sort out. Okay, if it was a plane, where's the plane? Okay, if it was a missile, where did it come from?
Yes.
It's the same process, I think.
Well, I mean, I saw that video, probably the same one that you're talking about.
Right.
I did see it, and I watched it in absolute slow-mo.
Right.
Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, right? I just, although I listen to a lot of conspiracies, and I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting of thought. But the plane was never found. If a plane was there, well, what happened to the black boxes? What happened to the seats? What happened to the fuselage? They said, oh, what was it? A 757 jet slammed into it. It would have created a far bigger hole. So but again, is this?
That's the components of the mystery. Okay, all of these things don't add up.
Right. You're right.
So let's sort through it and find something that does add up.
Al, I love it because it's people like you with your writing and with what you do that brings such a mystery into reality in a story. Because I mean, it could be 9/11, it could be what happened at the Pentagon, it could be hey, the fish in the ocean are not really blue, they're kind of purple. Ooh. The Fukushima radiation, and hey, there are three-eyed fish floating out there. Mm-hmm. Okay, like the Simpsons episode. Hey, but could that happen? Is that a mystery or is that a conspiracy? So, I mean, but you bring things into such a reality. It's almost, Al, like people can reach out and taste it, and that's lovely. Do you have any idea how much talent that it takes to do that?
I appreciate you saying so, and I guess I do. I mean, it's hard to be detached from it, though.
What?
I read the words. I'm rereading the books again, looking for things I can use to promote it. I'm like, did I really write this? Because I write with a partner, and sometimes we can't decide. Did you write this or did I write this? I don't know. I think you wrote it. No. I'm pretty sure you wrote it.
But it even causes you, after the fact that you wrote something, to look back and say, wait a second. Wait, let's look at this again. And again, the mystery. That's the cool thing about mysteries, is that they always evolve. You see what I mean?
Right.
And so I take it with your writing style, and there are a lot of people. I've interviewed a lot of writers, from newspapers to magazines, to online blogging and vlogging and all this. I've interviewed a lot of them, but it's not that many of them that can capture the imagination and or the attention of the reader. And bring the characters into a lifelike figure like you do, Al. Again, it takes an awful lot of talent to do that.
Well, I think it takes having lived and paid attention to people. And, okay, do people really act this way? Or, you'll see on a movie, it's like, you'll see something like really out of character. But, it depends on how good the writer is, or... My mother laughs at me because I'll start screaming at some crime. So it's like, no, they would not do that. It's so obvious you don't do that. So, but the writers do it because they want to move the plot along. So I'm trying to be careful there. It's like, okay, we can do a little thing here, but it's completely inconsistent. But it moves the story. No,
yes.
Let's find another way to move the story.
Okay, well, there. You probably remember there was a hit series, TV show, Murder, She Wrote.
Right.
Okay. Now hey, we're old enough. I watched that show at night. However, they are reruns, of course. But anyway, the show Murder, She Wrote, very interesting show it is. But it always, so far, has ended up talking about murder or the mystery of the murder and how it all happened. Not the mystery of how somebody got wealthy. The mystery of how someone became famous or became, as you are, Al, as a writer, and what brought you from one point in your life to writing, which would be your point B. So... let me go back to that just for a second.
Okay.
You'd mentioned serving in the military. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And I mean it. But going from standing on a ship to sitting at home in your office and writing books like that you've written, how has one helped the other? Has it been a way of escape, maybe from the pain that you had when you were in the military, the pain not being with family, the pain not being with those that you loved, the pain because maybe maybe you didn't like what you used to do, but now here you are writing. Are you able to use the two in comparison and using those elements to help you in your writing skills?
Well, see, how do I best answer this? I mean, first of all, when I first went into the Navy, I loved the Navy. I mean, I'm from a small Midwest town. I wanted to get out. I wanted to go see something. The Navy seemed like the way to do it. They're going to put you on a ship. They're going to send you somewhere. I was like, that's the ticket. So I loved it at first. And I was stationed in the Philippines, and I didn't understand the poverty. I mean, I didn't consider, I wasn't a very educated person at this time. I wasn't very well read. Actually, I'd come to hate reading for quite a time and then finally rekindled that love of it in my late teens. So I wasn't particularly well informed, and like, wow, the Philippines, it's really this poor, poor country. And it's this close ally to the United States. It's like, I don't understand this connection. I don't understand how that happened. So then I started thinking about the conditions, these kinds of situations. So the military really woke me up, or the experience the military gave me really woke me up. And that's been the course ever since. It's like, I want to know why these things are. So the first mysteries for me was answering these kinds of questions. And that's why I majored in history, so I could find these answers.
You know, I think it's amazing to me, Al, when you were able, as a younger man, to travel the world and do the Navy bit and all that, and then maybe later in life, as you are now, being able to sit back, reflect on it, and perhaps write about it. Perhaps write about some of the things that you maybe had wished that you could have back then. But, you know, somewhere along the way, there is something, Al, that makes you tick and that encourages you to keep going. And when we come back from a break, I want to get into it.
Okay.
And find out, folks, what actually encourages Al. Folks, this is the Robert Christian Show, where your voice, your opinion, they do matter. Stick around. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, hey, we are back with the Robert Christian Show, reminding you. I love these little friendly little reminders that are handed to me. Reminding you. John Finch, the producer of The Father Effect. Ooh, he's going to be joining us upcoming, actually, next week. We also have the famous brothers, the twins of swag, the kings of swag, the Harris brothers, Mark and his brother, Mark Harris and his brother, joining us coming in June. Oh my goodness. And of course we have far more guests upcoming on the live shows. And ladies and gentlemen, let me go back. We are once again, folks, visiting with Al. And Al, it's great, of course, to have you on the live shows. So before we before our break, I started going into to this other avenue as to really what makes Al tick, and what is it, Al, about you that encourages you to keep writing with fresh and new content?
It's like I can't not write. I mean, I write, and you've probably heard this from many other writers. I mean, if I didn't have writing, I don't know what I would do. I mean, so that's one reason. It's just so enjoyable and so much fun to create these people, to figure out adventures for them, to have them go through that, and to just to create this stuff out of my own mind. But what else motivates me? I like to keep moving. I mean, I've been, living here in Hawaii, but also Japan, New York City, San Francisco. I just want to, and I'm getting ready to leave again. I'm heading for LA here in the next couple of months. Just keep moving, new people, new situations, new material.
So you're moving to LA, or are you going to continue living in Hawaii?
No, I'm moving to LA.
Isn't that something? Wow.
I want to really kick this writing thing going, give it a real kickstart, and I think I can do it from LA much better than I can do it here in Hawaii, particularly here in Hilo, which is right on the edge of Hawaii, and very rural, very pleasant. I love it here, but probably not the best place for what I'm trying to do. So I'm taking another trip.
Well, that's a very unique thought that you just brought up, because a lot of writers they find inspiration in the weirdest places. Mm-hmm. It could be in the hustle and bustle of a city like New York, the hustle and bustle of LA or San Francisco, or the quiet tranquility that you will find somewhere in Idaho.
Right.
Right. So do you find that too?
I find it all sorts of, I can find it in other books. I can find it, I have been more inspired living in cities. I'm from a small town, and I like this slow life that comes with living someplace like here. But the inspiration, when I lived in Tokyo, I had always having ideas, because there's just so much, input. When I lived in New York, same thing. So I'm really I've never lived in Los Angeles, and I'm really looking forward to it, just to see what that new place is like, and to see what new things I can come up with living there.
Well, I lived for several years. I lived in Los Angeles, and I liked it, I guess, for what it was. But now that I am no longer in LA, I can't say that I miss it. I'm glad that I left, for a lot of reasons. And the hustle and bustle, I mean, granted, you could go to New York and have that, but LA is LA. Tinseltown is what it is. Mm-hmm. But I prefer living in Washington far more than I do in Los Angeles. But no offense to those fans of ours in LA, but that traffic, you guys can keep it. What is it like traffic wise there in on the island? Like rush hour is what, 5 cars?
Oh no, Hilo is a town of 40,000 people. A lot of the people live outside in the next community down, so we do get something of a rush hour. Nothing as bad as Honolulu. Honolulu has become one of the worst cities in the world for traffic, and I'm glad I no longer live there. As much as I love the town, I don't want to drive there. And, to tell you the truth, I do not know what I'm getting myself into going to LA, but I haven't been there. I've always wanted to live there, and I'm just going to go try and see what it's like. I lived in New York for 3 years. I love New York City. I absolutely adore it, but I don't think I would live there again.
I lived in New York too. I did the New York thing, and that's one city that I do miss. I really do. 24 hours a day, whatever that you could imagine.
Right.
That was it. To me, there's nothing like standing. Even back in the day, there was nothing in the world like standing at the bottom of the World Trade Center, and looking straight up and seeing nothing but building. Window after window, and eventually it all becomes a blur. I remember that. The subway system, oh boy. But, I have got a lot of really good memories from New York, but I can't say that I'd ever live there again.
Yeah, I don't think I would live there. But I do love it. I still love it. And I didn't want to go. It was my wife's idea. She's very much a big city girl. And she said, okay, we should try New York. I say, it'll be fine. It's like, okay, we'll go to New York. And of course, she was right. It was fine. It was great.
Well, we have some very close friends and fans of the show that live in Los Angeles. One of which, he is a famous auctioneer that has made a lot of money, but a lot of people laugh too through his television show that's on the A&E television network. But when I'm able to talk with people from LA, I'm oftentimes reminded of when I was there, because it was, to me, it was a disaster. It really was. Going from one extreme on the East Coast to the other extreme on the West Coast, and the mystery of the ages was, what did I do in between New York and LA? That, my dear friends, that's the mystery. But Al, LA has an awful lot of things to offer a lot of people, and I think that you'll flourish there, depending on what part of the city that you live in, is really going to account for a lot of the way that you feel about the city within 6 months.
Oh, that's good to know. I mean, I really have no idea where I'm going to land yet. I mean, I'm talking to people that are suggesting this place or that place, and I'm just going to have to go down there and poke around and look around and figure it out.
Well, Pacific Palisades, which is just outside of the city, that's nice. It's a little bit spendy there, though. Hollywood, trust me, that's Hollywood isn't what it used to be. Beverly Hills, that's on the outskirts of LA, between Los Angeles and Echo, well, sort of the Echo Park area of Los Angeles. But anyway, that's okay, but very spendy. It just really depends. Pasadena, I like Pasadena. A lot of really cool houses and structures and architecture is there, if that's what you're into. But, or the beach scene, hey, if you want to be a beach bum, well, hey, you're where you need to be then. You're in Hawaii.
I'm okay with the beach bum thing. I need to go do something else.
Well, I tell you what, Al, it's been a pleasure having you on, and I like asking questions and getting into the mind of a writer with a lot of things, and you're sort of the first in your own way, because I've never interviewed someone as yourself who focuses so much attention on the mystery of things. Conspiracy. We've talked about conspiracies, but not the mystery of it. And there definitely is a dual way of writing.
It might be the history training. I mean, writing history is about figuring things out, and just applying those same things I learned to writing fiction.
I think that you're going to do well, Al, in whatever that you set your mind to do. And, hey, within 3 months or 4 months, 5, maybe after you move back to L.A., hey, maybe we can hook up then again, Al. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And touch base with you on at that point of sort of a before and an after. How has maybe moving and changing your environment, how has that encouraged or discouraged your writing skills and your ability?
Well, that'll be fun, and I'll have a couple other things close to finished by then, so we can talk about them. I think some of the things I'm working on might better answer some of your questions, but they're in the germ stage, so there's not really much to say yet.
I can't wait. Now, Al, again, what is your website? Isn't it McDermid.com?
McDermid.com, one word. You can find me there. You can find me on Twitter, on Facebook. I'm very easy to find. Problem with Googling me is you usually end up with Val, who is a Scottish mystery writer with the same spelling of last name.
Yes.
But you can find me. I'm not hiding. So.
I ran into Val earlier today, by the way, just so you know. But go ahead. Well, awesome. Well, I will remain in contact with you, and at least maybe if all else fails through Danielle, and maybe we can again, hook up again in the near future, sometime later this year, and because it would be very very interesting, because styles of writing does depend on where you live, what your environment is.
Sure.
And I'd love to hear about it.
Well, I look forward to it, and thank you again for having me on today. It's been just a blast for me. Thank you.
Hey, not a problem. I try to make it fun, energetic, entertaining, and sometimes I do ask the really hard questions. And Dan, he says, you're not ready to get into her mind, talking about his wife, Laura. I want to get into her mind. He goes, you're not ready. Now, please, I am more than ready. Are you kidding? All right, Al, well, listen,
okay.
Take care. We'll talk to you soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Al McDermid, a great guy, great personality. He has an awful lot to say. And yes, I want to encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to look for his books. I would imagine on Amazon.com, but we will have Al on again in the future. Folks, stand by as we get ready to round up the rest of today's live show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday once again. And the Robert Christian Show will be live and on the air, ladies and gentlemen, beginning at 3 p.m. Pacific. That is 6 p.m. Eastern. Today we have an incredible and a powerful show that is on tap, and we want to invite you to be a part of the show. Join us live. Go to robertchristianshow.com/live. Choose Channel 1 if you are using a mobile device like a cell phone, iPad, iPod, whatever, and Channel 2 for PC and other. Folks, the Robert Christian Show, it is more than just a simple progressive talk radio. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. And it is great to see you all. Wow, you know what? Last week, I had to cancel last week's live show because I had oral surgery. And folks, I'm telling you what, talking about and my face is still swollen right there. Because of it. So anyway, for those that did write in and ask about me and what's going on, and Facebook and Twitter and all this, hey, I greatly appreciate it. It means the world to me. Folks, I do the best that I can to be real and to remain real. I've got feelings. I have heart, just like anyone else does. And with Al, and I thanked him for his service. Folks, you know what? Back in the day when the "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" law was installed, just after that, I remember back in the TV studio, I had members of every branch of the military that was on set that day, and I remember giving each one of them a U.S. flag, an American flag. And long story short, they were in tears, every one of them. And they thanked me, and they said, thank you, because you gave back to us what the president, Bill Clinton, back in that Congress, what they took away from those service members because they were gay, lesbian, or bisexual. And I presented them. I gave them a flag, and I said, you know what? I always give credit where credit is due. I always do. And to Al, once again, I cannot thank him enough for his service and for what he's done. It means a lot, because you know what, folks, the freedoms that, off the subject of conspiracies and off the subject of all this, but it's people like Al that has given their life, laid their life on the line for your freedom and for mine. So when it comes to the military, my nephew is in the military. He's actually stationed somewhere. I'll only say that somewhere outside of the continental United States. And I'm in hopes that he will not see wartime, but peacetime. I can only hope that in the future that America doesn't see any more war, but peace. And we can focus our attention, ladies and gentlemen, until the cows come home, so they say, and find something evil, something bad, something to get angry about. It doesn't take a brain scientist to do that. But when I find men and women that have served our country and served it well, that have done what they were supposed to do, that did their time, and they now are able to write about it or tell their story, I think it's amazing. And Al, he found himself in a position to write. He found himself in a position that I'm grateful that he did. I started writing. This is FYI. I started writing back when I was 15, I believe. And I was about 34 when I wrote my autobiography. And people are like, oh, wait a second. 34 years old, that's what old people do. Old people write their autobiography. Why did you write one at 34? Well, I was about that. But you know what? It was because, to me, that there was a story that needed to be told. There had to be something that needed to be said. And I was able to say it. That's why. And if my book, if my autobiography, if it reaches out and touches one person, if it encourages one person, then it was worth every moment that was spent to write it. Ladies and gentlemen, the fact is that the stupidest question that there ever is one that is never asked. The most repulsive thing in this life that you will ever run into is someone who refuses to share and to tell their story. Think about that. Folks, this is the Robert Christian Show. Next week, reminding you, John Finch is coming on. He is the producer of The Father Effect. Great title. He's going to be on at 3 o'clock. So that's the first hour of next week's live show. The Harris brothers are also upcoming. Marilyn Redmond, love you, Marilyn. She had a short cameo today at the first hour of today's live show. Jerry McMillan has also been on talking about off-grid living. You guys missed a good one. You really did. Oh, my heavens. There is, and no, it's not a conspiracy-laden thing, but there's a lot of people that are so into off-grid living. And, we're going to be doing it again. We're going to get some guests coming on in the future, talk and visit with us about these tiny houses. I think that they're adorable. I think they're cute. I do. And I want to know more about them. Folks, this is the Robert Christian Show. So until next time, we bid farewell. Good night, America and the world, wherever that you are. Visit the Robert Christian Show online, robertchristianshow.com.